Hey Bashers, you've seen the thumbnail and you know what this one's about. This is the latest offering from Traxxas, and this one is the Maxx Slash, and it's got the Slash body and all that. It's a little bigger than the original Slash because it's built on the Maxx platform, and that's a pretty tough car. The Maxx is, we've had a great time with the Maxx here, and it's held up beautifully. So aside from the electronics, it's been a pretty good truck. We're going to get this one out of the box today. This is our first look video, so we're going to get out of the box. We're going to go over what you get with your purchase, and then we're going to have a look at the car and see exactly what they've done to it as far as the first look impressions go, and see if it's worth that staggering price tag. $700 or something like that seems like an awful lot of money, but this one runs on 6S and should be pretty cool. Let's get it out of the box and check it out. All right, so before we peel the box open, on the shelf back there, we've got the Ultimate Slash and we've got the Traxxas Maxx, and this is the version 1 with the Wide Max kit on it. And these are the ones we're going to compare it to, considering it's pretty much a mashup of both of those cars, and that should be pretty informative to see the differences in all three. But before we get to that, let's get this thing out of the box. Question is it upside down? Let's see. No! Great! All right, so there it is. No transmitter. Where would that be? Well, let's have a look. Now this has got the clipless body on it. Let's get that off. There's just two tabs underneath the fenders on each end, like so. There it is. The transmitter. So it was buried in the car, and that works pretty good for shipping, I would imagine. Let's get that out. Okay. Well, that's cool looking. Let's put it on the car and let's see. It's got some clips here, like that. Just like that, very cool. This thing really does look good, guys. Check this out. I really like the green, I always do. It's Tina's X Max's green. It's very cool looking. This has the traditional wild Traxxas paint job on it, and it looks really good. We got to get you down close. Check this out. All right, now that we got it out of the box, let's take a look at what came with it. And of course, we're going to start with this. And this is the standard Traxxas controller. And these things are everywhere, it seems like. These things feel pretty good and they work. They do work. The range is pretty decent. And you can sync more than one car to this, which is still pretty cool. Now, I've talked to people that have had problems with these. Personally, here at the studio, we haven't had any problems with these. They do work, but I just like a little more instant control. There's not really a lot here, so there's not much to play with as far as that. You have to get your phone out to use it. And I like to be able to reach right out and grab a knob and turn the brakes up, turn the brakes down, stuff like that right on the transmitter, and I'm not a fan of these for that reason. Other than that, they do work and it will work for the car, so that's one thing. The other part of this is simply this. Here's the packet, and this is a really thin, simple packet. These usually have everything you need for part numbers and whatnot. You get your manual and your quick start guide right here. On this side, you've got your warranty sleeve right there, and of course you have some stickers so you can put numbers on it and whatnot. But right down in here you have this little packet, and that packet is the toolkit, and it is one of the most basic toolkits I've seen yet. 2 Allen wrenches, 1 wheel wrench, done. That's all that comes with this. So I highly recommend you get a decent toolkit if you're gonna work on this thing, because it'll take more than just this to work on it. Alongside that, you've got the loop connector, and this loop connector right here is what allows you to go from 2 batteries to 1. So you can put 2 batteries in it, which would be 2 3S batteries to get 6S, or 2 2S batteries in it to get 4S, and this will run on 4S or run 1 battery, but you're gonna have to have that loop connector to make it work with a single battery. So don't just sidestep that. If you have twin batteries, you'll need that. So keep an eye on that. Now we're down to the car. Let's get this down on the bench and show you what's inside. All right, so first off, what we want to do is get the body off, and this has a pretty clever system, and Traxxas came out with this a little while ago, and it has the same thing relatively on the Sledge, and what it is it's clipless hood mounts. So you've got these plastic tabs here, there's another set right here in the back. Underneath, there's some tabs, and you just reach over the tires, reach in there, and you'll feel them, hang them down, pull outward. And so you pull out, and it'll pop up like that. Do the same thing in the back, just like so, and it comes off just like that. And here's what it is. So take a look inside here. This is pretty slick the way they got this set up with the cage and everything, but here's your clips here. And they're just these little units like this, and you just squeeze them and they let go of the car itself and pop loose. It's got a couple of protectors here, and these attach to the out rails on the chassis there. So this whole thing is pretty cool. It looks like it's gonna do some pretty good protection for the body as far as caving in goes. And we've seen the body. This is really cool. I love this green. This is a thing for me. On top of that, inside the car, and we'll get you a static of this and we'll show you how this is inside here, but inside here is your basic Maxx layout. It looks pretty similar. They did change the way the servo goes in, and that's really, how do you put this? This is one thing that I find to be exceptionally uncool, and the way they mount this is there's a small tab here, there's a small tab there, and there's a small tab in the back, and that means that your standard servos won't just go in it. You'll have to have the adapter kit, and I did grab one of those just in case we have problems with this, but they made it pretty much proprietary, which means you got to use that style servo to do this or to work on it, and I'm not a fan of that. Other than that though, not bad. Everything feels pretty good on that. It's got the standard radio in it that we normally see in these things, and this, I've heard good and bad about this part, but this ESC right here is the same one we had in the UDR. It's also the same one we have in the Sledge, and it's 6S capable. It runs down to 4S. We haven't had any problem with those here. They do work. This is the one model of Traxxas ESCs that we haven't had burned down. We've burned just about every other one down, but so far all three, well counting this one, the 2 that we have are still functioning properly, and that's pretty cool as far as that goes. The one downside to this ESC, other than some people just don't like them, they have problems with them, but at the same time, the one thing about this ESC I'm not a fan of is if you want to turn this off, you have to unplug the battery. You can turn it on with the little button right here. So this button right here turns it on. Hold that down just for a second, it'll come alive and life is good, but you can't reach in and turn it off. You have to unplug it, and that's unfortunate. The motor here, if I remember correctly, this is a 2200 kV, and it's a little faster than the 2050s and stuff like that, so it'll spin up a little better. This is supposed to do 70 miles an hour. We'll see how that works. As far as that goes, it looks like the regular Maxx chassis, and that's it right there. They did change the arms though, and these arms look pretty thin. They don't look very sturdy. I would expect to have more plastic in these. We'll see how those hold up and everything. They are a little bit shorter, so they should have some good strength to them, but I would expect to see a little bit more in there. Also, the steering links right here are the plastic ones, and if you guys watch the channel, you know I like the plastic links. They'll bend, yes, they'll bend, but so do the metal ones, and the difference between these is you can straighten them back out or replace them, and they're usually a pretty inexpensive part. Just looking at this thing here, I really like the build of the bumpers, and what it is they have concussion rings, much like what Arrma's doing with theirs now. There's concussion rings behind the bumpers, and those concussion rings really do help so things don't just destroy themselves. And we're seeing more and more of these concussion rings in these RCs, and I really do think they help. All right, so have a look at this. These are the tires, and these right here are a really dense rubber. It feels really good, lots of grip to them. It feels like these will hold up for a long time on the pavement, and they're belted so they won't swell up nearly as much as the other ones do. But the cool part about this is these little cups in here. So you pull this little nut off and you pull the cup out, much like the Maxx has, and then these should fit the Sledge, they should fit the Maxx, they should fit just about anything. And being belted, these might be really cool on the Sledge to get some high speeds out of it. And if you guys watch the channel, you know I'm a fan of mix and match. All right, so I got the bench loaded up now, and we've got the Traxxas Slash Ultimate, we've got the Maxx sitting next to that, the Maxx Slash, and I couldn't resist the Mojave EXB is sitting at the end because we want to do some sizing and whatnot. Now, what I noticed right away is this rig right here is enormous. It's a great big truck, so it doesn't fit with the scale with any of the other stuff at all. It's basically the same size as the Mojave, and the Mojave is a great big truck. So end for end, they're almost identical. I think the Slash might be 1/4 of an inch, maybe 1/2 inch shorter, but that is minimal in distance when it comes to that. We'll get you a flyover over this so you can see what it is. Then we'll peel the top off and we'll have a look at how things progress from the Ultimate to the Mojave. This should be pretty slick. All right, so all that behind us, there is the Maxx Slash, and I'm really shocked at how big it is, guys. I really am. I wasn't expecting it to be anywhere near the size that it is. I love the Mojave. I think it's an outstanding rig. The UDR is also very cool, especially if you're into scale. That's a real thing there. This one here, I love the way it looks. I'm glad it's bigger than the 10 scale Slash. This should be a blast, and when we get the chance to run this, we're going to find out if it's everything it's cracked up to be. So there we go. That's our first look at the Traxxas Maxx Slash, and I am really impressed. I really am. It's a lot bigger than I was expecting it to be, and it puts it right in the same area with the Mojave and the UDR, and I know one is scale and one is considered an unlimited desert racer and whatever. I don't really care about that. Sit them side by side. They're close enough to pull the trigger on. These things should be a blast to play with, and with the tires the way they are, they should be pretty controllable too. Only time will tell. So if you haven't already, don't forget to bash that like button and help our content spread. It helps more than you know. If you guys have anything you'd like to add to this video, please feel free to get in the comments down below and help others along the way. For AJ Jam Studios, I'm AJ Sam. Keep bashing.